Welcome to the Asylum. Today we are visiting the 14th century, where being a king meant you had everything, including land, power, and a body made of glass. Meet Charles VI of France. To his face he was Charles the Beloved, but behind his back he was Charles the Mad. He did not just have a bad day, he had a 30-year psychotic break that convinced him one single hug would turn him into a pile of jagged shards. But the twist is that he was not the only one. A literal epidemic of glass people was about to sweep across Europe. It all started in 1392, while the king was riding through a forest. A page boy accidentally dropped a lance, and that sharp metal clang snapped the king's mind like a dry twig. He drew his sword and killed 4 of his own knights before being wrestled to the ground. Imagine being that page boy. You drop a stick and suddenly the king thinks he is John Wick. After this incident, Charles decided reality was far too sturdy for him. He stopped bathing for 5 months, because he was terrified the water would erode his skin. He literally grew a layer of filth as a protective coating, which is one way to handle hygiene, I suppose. Charles had iron rods sewn into his royal robes to act as a roll cage for his internal organs. He sat in piles of 50 thick blankets for hours at a time, refusing to move a muscle. He even forgot he was the king. He ran the halls howling like a wolf, and he would run through the palace barking at his advisors. When his wife tried to help, he would scream at her, asking who this woman was and demanding the imposter stay away from his glass body. But here is where it gets truly bizarre. This was not just a Charles thing. For the next 300 years, glass delusion was a legitimate medical diagnosis. Wealthy scholars and nobles all over Europe started thinking they were fragile. It was a mass psychogenic illness. People had very specific glass parts. One man was convinced his buttocks were made of glass and carried a velvet pillow everywhere like it was a holy relic. Another man was absolutely certain he swallowed an entire glass grand piano as a child. Just imagine trying to digest a Steinway. Doctors at the time blamed it on something called black bile. They thought if your body got too hot, the bile would vitrify and turn you into a human vase. But modern historians think it was actually a wealth flex. In the 1400s, clear glass was the most expensive high-tech material on Earth. Thinking you were made of glass was basically the medieval version of saying you were so important and expensive that you were a luxury item that should never be touched. Charles died in 1422. Still terrified of a stiff breeze. The glass delusion eventually faded away, replaced by people thinking they were made of concrete or eventually robots. Subscribe to History Asylum for more madness.